let's talk about changing our lives and changing our minds, shall we? As we make muffins. I don't know why they gave me the vibe of, I want waffle fries, but it did. Welcome to my kitchen in my new Canadian home where, yes, the fruit bowl is full of potatoes because fresh fruit and vegetables here are more expensive than I anticipated. You know, I also am going to need a couple other things that I feel like I'm going to miss out on if I don't grab them now, so let's find things. Speaking of finding things, I have been finding myself a little bit. That was a cheesy transition, yes, I know. But sometimes when you're looking for something, right, you don't realize that you're going to find something else. Like more breakfast stuff down here that I forgot that we had. That's gonna bug me, OCD. Okay. In the terms of changing our lives, I think when I started this 195 challenge, I, obviously if you watched my other video about going to Canada, very short notice in terms of everything. We thought we were gonna leave maybe November, maybe a little later than that, maybe thinking 2026, honestly. But things happen. And in terms of things that happened, it was losing my job, obviously, that I had for 3.5 years with very little notice. And it was a job that I always thought I was going to be the one leaving. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of daydreamed about it quite a bit. Why? not necessarily, again, anything against the job itself. It was an easy job, but I didn't feel like I was growing anymore. And honestly, I fell for the hustle culture BS. And I knew that I had, and I didn't know how to get myself out of it yet. And the only thing I could think of was remove myself from the environment that was facilitating the hustle culture BS. Of course, I want to preface me saying that I fell for the hustle culture BS with the knowledge that I knew I was. I knew that I kind of, in a way, enjoyed it. It made me feel fulfilled. It made me feel like I had potential and that someone else could see that potential more than just me. Because after getting out of the query trenches with a book that I still love to this day, and getting rejected after getting so close to getting an agent, I think I really fell in love with the idea of that outside validation I was getting at my day job. And the outside validation was coming from, oh, you're working so hard, you're doing so much. And I got a lot of praise very, very quickly for overworking myself and burning myself out very quickly. And then when that praise stopped coming, I felt like that was the only way I could get that validation that I was seeking in traditional publishing normally, and it became a huge crutch, honestly. I didn't want to leave that job for some reasons, and I wanted to leave that job for the same exact reasons, honestly. Reasons I wanted to stay were that it was safe. Reasons I wanted to leave was that it was safe. It didn't feel like I was growing anymore. It didn't feel like I was getting that outside validation that I was craving so badly from experiencing the query trenches rejection and not knowing how to get that next hit of gratification I was getting every time I got a full request. Because I got quite a few full requests for being, honestly, looking back on it, not a very good book. I know so many people love Spaceborne, and I still love the concept of it, but just the writing level was not where it should have been for me querying, honestly, and it should have been in third person because that's where my writing shines. And I kept wondering maybe it needed to be in third person because it was sci-fi, but there's plenty of first person sci-fi, as I found out through further reading, that were hugely successful and really great reads. It was just my writing shines in third person. And it was funny because I was very easily able to accept the idea and the concept of, oh, I need to change how I write to better facilitate my next story. I need to be writing a third POV. But I couldn't imagine myself doing the same thing when it came to work or other areas of my life that needed better fulfillment. I couldn't imagine getting another job and getting that sense of fulfillment because I didn't, in the end, believe in my ability to do my job well. To be honest, I believed in my writing a lot more than I believed in what I was doing for work. And why? Is because I didn't believe necessarily in the work that we were doing. I believed in the concept that I had an ability to go up the ladder in my first ever corporate big girl job, and that would give me a sense of fulfillment that was lacking in other areas of my life, like writing. I was filled by the idea of a job that was never really its reality. And the reality of that job was that it was a bunch of hustle culture bullshit. And as I have been doing a little bit more research into my plans for the 185 challenge, I've been reading things like, for example, the 12-week year. And as I'm reading that book, I am picking up actively quotes almost verbatim of what my CEO would be saying, kind of claiming it was his own quote, kind of sometimes saying he was getting it from a different medium, but very much so, people coming to him with it, like an idea that he had some sort of authority in that realm because he was a success. And in reality, he was following other people's pieces of advice of success, and rather than admitting that none of these were his own original concepts, or anyone in that business was their own original concepts, it was just copying lessons from more established people who actually did the research. And especially, upsetting when I would hear things that were just quoted incorrectly or were just flat out wrong. And I was picking up on them more and more and more the longer that I worked there. But going to reading the 12-week year immediately at the start of the 185 challenge, right when I lost this job, and literally pulling quotes that I had people in the business bastardize to justify overworking yourself for corporate America versus, using the book as it was intended, I was, let's just say, flabbergasted and a little bit upset because in my head, I think I knew these things, and in my heart, I didn't want to admit to them. Why? Because I not only was in that business with people who I liked, and in some sort of way looked up to, but also I got my sibling into that job, and they were around the same kind of energy that I don't really necessarily encourage in other people, but then I subjected both of us to that environment. Here are my muffins, by the way. Cute, very demure. The oven is not ready yet. Just like I was not ready to leave that job. In some ways. In other ways, I was more than ready to leave, and I was so excited for the prospect of going all in on my dreams. I mean, you guys saw the video that I filmed right after getting laid off, which was that I was, super duper freaking excited to go after my own things and become a full-time author, and now I am back at a day job, and I was even looking into a second day job. Difference being, of course, is that I do feel more valued, and I am getting paid better, and there is the same amount of flexibility, honestly, as the last job. It's not like I changed a whole bunch, honestly, and the whole point of the 185 Insane Challenge was to change my life in 6 months the most as possible. But now I am back in living in an apartment, paying rent again, in just a brand new place, doing a very, very similar job. My hair's kind of giving Lord Farquaad, I'm not gonna lie. And of course, this is when I came to the big realization. It was only after I had started the challenge and after I had lost my job that I realized was the 185 Insane Challenge just another version of hustle culture BS, but put into a nicer package where it's about feeling good and motivating yourself to work on things that actually bring you passion, but still burning yourself out. That's the question I was left with. And honestly, I still don't know what my original intention was. I told people it was one thing, but in my head, no matter how much I told other people, hey, it's okay, like if you didn't reach your goal, but you tried and you made progress, I couldn't apply that same idea or concept to myself. I was beating myself up still every single time I didn't meet one of my impossible goals. I would think, okay, I'm a full-time author now. I have no choice but to make this work. I have no choice but to somehow figure out a way to sustain myself, to pay rent, to be able to survive. And I'm still not feeling that sense of fulfillment of being a full-time author. Why? Because I haven't made a dime off of my books. I don't make a dime off of my YouTube videos. I also, after that, realized I don't know if I do want to. Of course, it's nice in a concept, but I think at this point in my life, right now, I'm required to have a consistent income. I'm currently, where we're living, the only person working, and I am sustaining my family. So, I am sponsoring my husband. That means this is the point where I pay for his things until he can work, and that means that I need to bring in that cash money. Of course, that is a new stress, and I don't want that stress to be applied to my writing. I don't want it to be applied to YouTube videos or my social media accounts. I want that to be something that I put fully on day job work. Day job work can be stressful because it's day job work, not my books not making me money when I'm, spending money to create them. It should be something that is coming from a place of passion, not because I just necessarily want to make a full-time income off of it. Of course, that's all nice in theory, right? But point being is I was telling people it wasn't about hustle culture, but then I was putting impossible standards on myself, telling you guys about it to hold myself accountable, and then kicking myself every time I fell short, but then filming a YouTube video about how it's all about passion, or getting in people's comments about like, it's okay if you didn't make all of your goals that you wanted to. But I think this is necessarily like a thing we all experience. We all are like, oh, we're rejecting the hustle culture. But then when we strive towards our own dreams that we feel so passionate about, we oftentimes burn ourselves out because we're like, okay, if I'm willing to work this hard for some other person for a couple dollars, I should be able to work a fraction of that for myself because it's actually what I want to be doing with my life. And that's the mindset that I came into the challenge with, is that if I've been working so hard for the past 3.5 years for a company to help build up their entire department, why can't I extend a little bit of that to me? Why can't I work that hard for me to facilitate my own dreams? And one thing that I was talking in the 185 Discord group, link down below, if you want to join us for the rest of the year as we try to improve our lives, was literally a video that I had seen. I'll put it right here as a screen grab. It's a very, very good video. I highly recommend watching it. But one of the things she had said is that if you want to motivate yourself to feeling like you're not stuck anymore, if you want to feel unstuck and get unstuck, one of the things is that things you know you need to do, but you're procrastinating on, that you feel stuck about, imagine you have to do it for somebody else. Because oftentimes, especially women, I find, we're motivated to help other people more than we are willing to feel motivated to help ourselves. And that's sad. And this was something that I came to realization about on my own, separate from the video a while back, is that I kept going, okay, I need to find a way to motivate myself. And one way that I used to motivate myself so much was with anger, was with, I'm pissed off that this other person has something that I don't. I'm pissed off that this person got an opportunity that I tried for and I just couldn't reach, even though I think my stuff, my writing, my etc. is better than theirs and they have more than me. Or why did they get the opportunity and I didn't, when I work harder, when I do XYZ? And it's a toxic place to be in. And I'm not gonna lie and say that like I've never been a toxic individual before in my life. We're only human. But it was a realization that I had, that I had been fueled for so long of my life just purely on the basis of my anger and my rage, not necessarily just because of what other people have and what I didn't have, or the idea and the concept that other people weren't working as hard as me, or they weren't as kind as me, or they weren't as talented as me. It was a matter of just injustices in the world as well. It was a matter of being born in a house where anger was a way to hide sadness. It was a way to cope that was more acceptable, honestly, than tears were. It was the way to protect yourself in a way, in a house, in a home, in an area that was dangerous, or at least felt like it. So when I moved out of that home, sorry, oven's ready. Let's go. Gotta throw in the muffins. Ta-da. I threw away the instructions, I realized. I think it said like 20 minutes. Please don't burn. Good luck. Salute you. And I need to get on my other phone. Put a timer on. See, I have a work phone now. Something my old employer could never give me, even though I had people texting me at like 2 a.m. I'm not salty, no. But when I finally moved out of that house, it was very much so me figuring out, okay, now that I'm out on my own, now that I have my job, rent, I have everything that is on my own dime that I have to pay for, and I am not having any sort of excuse for my lack of success due to people or things around me or environments around me. Everything is on me. That's a scary place to be. But also, I then realized, how am I supposed to motivate myself? I used to write so much and do so many edits of Spaceborne living in my family's home, and then I struggled to write anything, and I would blame it on maybe it's this job that I had. But in reality, it was the fact that I couldn't motivate myself anymore to do things because I used to be motivated by anger. I used to be motivated by, if I just sell a book for enough money, I can move out of this house. If I just do this or this or this, or if I just work hard enough, I can be more successful than the people who abused me when I was a child. I can be more successful than all of those friends who didn't like me anymore for reasons that I don't understand. Some people online will be like, I completely understand. Okay, yeah, I hear you. But how to motivate myself after not being so angry anymore was hard, and I'm still trying to figure that out, I think. If I don't motivate myself with petty, aggressive, I can do better than that kind of energy, then how was I supposed to motivate myself at all? And that's where I fell into hustle culture BS, introduced to an entire organization built on the concept of, if you work hard enough, you will succeed. And in reality, watching time and time again how that was not the case. I could work my ass off. I could work 60 hours plus a week. I could work from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m. and it wouldn't mean anything. and seeing that it wasn't a matter of how much I worked, it was how much I produced, and thinking, okay, well, if I produced good work, then that matters. But then being told after I busted my ass that it wasn't the amount that I worked or the quality that I worked, it was how much money I made. It didn't matter how beautiful my social media posts were, it didn't matter how many followers that I got the accounts, it didn't matter how many of those followers actually wanted to be hired to, or wanted to hire my CEO for events for speaking. It didn't matter how many of those followers actually became students, because they didn't want to track those metrics. They just wanted to say, we want you, specifically only you, to somehow produce money, but we will not give you the keys to actually make money because we actually don't want to pay you more. And as an artist, being told, okay, the only way that you then matter after you finally found validated at some sort of job is for the income you produce. And then going, okay, well, the only way I can then validate myself is by murdering myself, by overworking, by feeling like I'm doing so much, and that means that I'm worth something. Especially growing up just surrounded by women who sacrificed everything for the men in their lives constantly and consistently, it became, okay, well, the only way that I then have value as a person, as a woman, is how much I can give to other people, until at which point you don't have anything left for you. And that's really disappointing. And it's extra disappointing that I fell into that trap when I am always advocating for my friends to not do what I was actively doing. I was advocating for the 185 insane challenge to, yes, be something insane that we strive towards together as a community, but not necessarily something that I wanted to see other people trying as a challenge on YouTube. Granted, I'm totally gonna do a video where I try to do a perfect 185 insane challenge, because I think that's a really interesting way to do it for a day, but I don't want to create something that's a 75 hard where you do it for a specific period of time and then you give up on it and you're like, that was a crazy thing that I maybe did or didn't, and what did it do for you? Because you're not actually taking any of those things as a lifelong lesson or talent or part of your routine that actually does change your life. Yes, with a 75 hard you can, go and maybe lose a bunch of weight, maybe feel a little bit healthier for a time, but that's not something you're gonna upkeep. What does your body do? Usually when you don't upkeep that kind of routine anymore, it snaps back. Same thing with writing. If you're gonna do it, 3K a day, like the original rules of the challenge, how are you going to upkeep that after the challenge is over? Are you gonna keep doing it for more than 6 months? Is it gonna become a routine for you at that point? Or are you going to suffer like some of us are now? Because I was keeping up most of that 185 insane challenge routine leading up to making the video about it, and that very week I got laid off and then it all fell apart. And then I was commenting on things like Kate Kavanaugh's video about it, how it wasn't supposed to be necessarily a challenge where we felt super burned out. It was supposed to be something that lit us up on the inside. And in reality, I don't know if that was the case in the rules and the parameters that I set up for myself. I set up the rules and the parameters of this challenge for myself in a way where it catered to that hustle culture idea and concept that I wanted to reject for so long, but was still falling into. And I still fall into it. Why? Because again, I equate my value with how much I can do or how much I can give up for other people. And that's a sad, sad reality to live in. And sadly, that hasn't changed as much as I would like it to. But that's what I would kind of like to revitalize the 185 Insane Challenge as, is not necessarily, again, this how much can I do, how much can I change, but how happy can I be? How much joy can I have in my work? How proud of myself can I be? And that's what I would like, is to be able to look back on the last 6 months and, for starters, be like, wow, I survived being homeless in Seattle. Watch the video about that. But also, it was worth it in the end because it didn't just change the location in which I lived, but it changed me as a person. And that's what I'd like to get to. So let's chat about that a little bit while the muffins cook. So what I would love to do is go over the 6 months challenge goals that I created after the challenge, when I wanted to focus a little bit more on very specific things, because I feel like when I created the 195 Standing Challenge, I was focusing on routines that allowed me to get the most done. And that's why the challenge had so many different ways you could take it, and so many people were able to try and replicate it, was because it was more routine based. It was not necessarily what you needed to write, what you needed to do, but it was just the routine that I myself, in an ideal scenario in the world, would like to have on a random Tuesday, or like my perfect version of my day. But I also want to start doing like tiers of like my perfect, most productive day, and my most like, this is like the more than the bare minimum, this is the bare minimum, and this is like low energy days. I would love to kind of have like a menu to choose from between what kind of day I'm going to have and still know that I tried my best on that day and I feel more fulfilled than if I had just tried my hardest and then suffered the entire time. But these are the goals that I had. I don't know if these are the goals that I'm going to be keeping, but these are the ones that I wrote, and I wanted to review them together because I have not looked at these since I rewrote these at the end of, God, what was it, May? Before moving, becoming homeless. So let's look at them together, shall we? All right. Physical health was lose 40 pounds, get lean and confident, gym and walk and yoga schedule. So will I be keeping any of these? The lose 40 pounds is a big concept, I feel like, merely because some of that can be muscle. I do say I want to get lean according to this, and I still would, and I still definitely don't want to be like a super duper skinny person. I still would like to have sort of my regular curves and things like that. I don't want to be like a super duper small person. I am 5'5". Some people think that's small in general, who knows. But so lose 40 pounds, I would rather gain muscle, I think, and just lose some of the more visceral fat that I know I have, especially like around my gut, just because those are pressing against organs and those are not healthy for me necessarily. I have been told multiple times by my doctor, they're like, the rest is fine, just focus on the stomach. I'm like, okay, that doesn't necessarily help. You haven't told me what to do. But it is literally bad for things like my PCOS, it's bad for the condition of my legs, different things like that. So I hate to bring up weight loss in the very first thing because I know it can be a triggering topic for some people. This is literally just because I specifically have the type of hard fat around your stomach that interferes with things like your organs. And specifically, it's a lot of extra weight to have on my knees, which are also bad and have their own condition that I have to worry about that actually makes exercise hard. So there's no winning. That's that's not the energy I want to bring to this video, but that's the vibe I'm currently feeling. So gym, walk, yoga schedule. I actually live right next to the woods here and I fucking love it, but then I was an idiot and I went walking at sunset in the woods with no bear spray. I did not encounter a bear, which would have just been my fucking luck and how this trip has gone so far, but I really don't want to test fate, so I'm gonna get bear spray before I do sort of like a walk in the forest kind of thing. So I might just do gym for now because the gym is right across from me. So that would be great to do. Is it a priority right now? Considering I am usually walking everywhere because, again, my car was smushed by a deer. I'm not sure, but it would be nice. I have it on like my goals, but this is like a low priority. This, when I wrote it, was the very first thing I thought of actually, and it was a high priority for me. Now that I have unintentionally lost weight from being starved by being homeless, and now I'm not too interested with the concept of doing it again, or restricting myself, which is obviously a way that you gain weight, is by not restricting yourself in terms of snacking and things like that. But I don't really want to think about this goal right now. I might come back to it in like a Q4 area towards the end of the year, but right now it's just, it happens, it doesn't. I want to take care of my health, obviously, and I'm going to try to do that, but I'm not going to focus on necessarily pounds or inches lost right now after that previous experience. Mental health. The first thing I wrote here was lessen guilt. I feel guilty that I have not been able to stick with my publishing schedule, and I don't think I fully actually gave you guys a breakdown of what my publishing schedule was going to be, but I basically wanted to release the main series of the Divided God saga, one every quarter of this year, with the last book in the first arc coming out in Q1 of 2026. That was an insane concept, especially given the fact that I am now reading my first partial draft of book 2, and it's a hot fucking mess. It is salvageable, which I thought at first it was not going to be. There is things that in there that I can salvage, but there is a lot to be rewritten, and there's a lot to add and subtract and things like that. So that's just that's not happening. But I was already feeling guilty about that and having to push back some of my novellas as well, but I just literally don't have the money to invest into things like cover art and editing right now that I know next year I will hopefully have the funds to do. And I may still try to release my first novella in the spin-off like novella series for the Divided Gods that features some of the Vikings that are inside of the town, because I already have the cover for that, and I already had booked an editor, and I had put the first payment deposit down, but I have not even sent it to them yet because it's still a hot mess and needs to be beta read and all of those things. So I still feel guilty of those things, and I would still love at the end of this challenge to definitely lessen my guilt over the fact of not getting things done, but also not using, oh, this is supposed to be a challenge that makes me feel good, to just brush away all of my goals. There needs to be a happy medium, and that's definitely something that I'm trying to find. And I hope with this challenge, that's what I do, is before the end of the year, I would love to be able to find that happy medium between being motivated and a go-getter and being passionate and thriving, with knowing how much my body can take, how much my mind can take, and being able to have a healthy balance between work and life. And so many people are like, there's no such thing as a healthy work-life balance. I keep hearing that recently. I was first hearing it at my old day job, and I think that not having a work-life balance and saying that it doesn't exist is completely an American concept, because being here in Canada for just 2 months, like, I feel like people don't work. I literally feel like I go outside all the time and everyone's on break. I feel like every place I go, people are actually happy to be working because they have time off. I was working within the first couple weeks and everyone was on vacation at work except for me, because I had just started. I hadn't accrued any vacation time. There's been 2-3 day weekends just since I've been here. And I remember specifically talking to one of my superiors, and they were like, oh, what'd you do on the weekend? And I was like, oh yeah, I did this for work and this for work. And then he was like, well, did you do anything fun? And I was like, well, I mean, I went to events for work to do the social media. And he's like, but that's still related to work. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, what'd you do the weekend before? Because he knew I had no events. And then I was like, work. And he's like, what do you mean? He paused and he's like, have you not had a single day off since you started? This has been over a month in after I already had my 4-week review. And I was like, I kind of took off Sunday, but I still had to do some manual posting on that day. And he's like, talk to your other superior about this to figure out how to get you some days off. I was like, okay. Because I feel like I'm not working, and then I go around and I literally feel like other people don't work, or at the very least they have actual time off and they're actually happy to be where they are working, so it doesn't feel necessarily like work. But then I feel like I'm not working because I'm not seeing anyone, I'm not having regular meetings, so it feels like I'm just fucking around on the internet and I'm not actually doing a job. Which is not the case, because now I know I'm working during times and periods where other people weren't working, including a 3-day weekend that I didn't even know we had. I didn't know British Columbia Day was a thing. How was I supposed to know I had Monday off? No one told me. Yeah, but it also doesn't help too that I don't have an app to clock in. It's just a salary position, which I've never had before. So they just trust that I do the work. And that's crazy in itself. So some sort of balance, because in the States, literally I remember someone at my job being like, there's no such thing as work-life balance. And I saw a YouTube video from one of those hustle culture gurus who I watch a lot because of my old job. And they're like, there's no such thing as work-life balance. You just need to go, 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 go. And then when you feel like you've earned the time off, then you can go, go, go with your family. And I'm like, where's the time to just bed rot? Where's the time to just play a video game and just zone out and turn off your brain? Because in this current climate of social media where I literally have 2 phones going on right here, where's the time to just, one, be yourself? Where's the time just to relax and unplug? Because this ensures we are always plugged in. And personally, I don't want to be plugged in sometimes. I want to just zone out on a video game, read some books, disassociate. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to speak sometimes, okay? Yeah, lesson guilt. Practice joy. This is something I'm actively doing, that I am slowly considering myself doing. Even though I'm going to events for work, I'm making sure that I'm having a balance between grabbing content for work of these events that I'm doing for the social media accounts, and also taking the time to enjoy the atmosphere, getting to know people who are at the events with their own booths and small businesses, because that's something that I personally want to do. That lights me up so much inside. The fact that I'm in Canada now and we don't have TikTok Shop upsets me so much, because I would love to go, and when I have the money and I'm settled in here, to invest in getting a TikTok Shop kind of thing up, so that I could ship out copies of my books that are signed and they have all the artwork and they have beautiful stuff. That lights me up so much inside, just to physically know that I have a product in my hand that I'm passionate about, that I can give somebody. And the fact that there's, in my town now, there's so many of these events where people own their own small businesses and they connect with people face to face. And I honestly have not seen any authors doing any booths here. And so I'm really excited to do something like that, and maybe have do some merch kind of things where people will be interested in kind of more just general bookish merch. I've only seen one bookish girl have a booth anywhere. I bought one for a blind date with a book. I didn't end up liking the book that I chose. I'm very upset about it. She wrote on there that it was a fantasy romance, so I was thinking romantasy. It ended up being cozy fantasy, which is just not the vibe I was going for. But I digress. So I might read it, I might not, but it was nice to support a small local bookish business. But yeah, practicing joy, that's one small way I've done it. Or one of the things that I really want to have is in the middle of the week, something me and my husband Steven have been talking about for a long time, is that we want to have something on Wednesdays for hump day that is something that excites us, that gets us really fired up to go and do. And it could either be, I believe that means muffins are done. It could either be something like casual, you know, like let's just do a movie, or personally the one I'm vying for, at least while the season is on, is to do beach Wednesdays, because we have a bazillion beaches here and they're all gorgeous, stunning. I love them. Because there's like so many lakes and it's British Columbia. Like I want to go outside and actually see where we moved. So I would love to do like beach Wednesdays, but then obviously we're gonna have to find an alternative because it's already gonna be autumn in like 3 weeks and it is already gonna start getting colder. So not gonna be able to go to the beach very much very soon. Let's see those bad boys. Oh, they're so cute. The little babies. Oh yeah, that's clean. Perfect. Let's go. It's not me talking about how I don't want to adhere to the hustle culture BS anymore, and then you guys seeing my Kanban board with everything I have to do. I promise that is pretty broken up. Am I lying to you? I might be lying to you. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think I'm gonna get to as we go, right? I'm literally still in the middle of the folder here behind me. I'm also in the middle of a book I got a long time ago where I now know most of the things in this, called Adulting, but I lost it. But these ones I still don't know how to do, those little pink slips, so I'll be reading the rest of that. But I think a part of everything that I am learning is that when I created the challenge, and ever since for like my entire life, I have equated being happy with how much I can produce, because it made me feel valuable to other people versus what can I do to bring value to myself. And that's kind of a sad reality to live in. That's hot, but it's good. Okay. But I put my value on how much other people valued me versus how much I valued myself. And that left me doing everything for everybody else. And then maybe if I could squeeze it in, I could do some writing. And it was only when I began to value my writing on its own that I began to prioritize it, because I was like, okay, someone needs this story out there. But in the end, I still wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for an imaginary person somewhere out there who maybe could use my words, versus writing it because it brought me joy and me passion and it was something that I wanted to do. And one of the things I realized too was, one of the motivating factors I had for moving to Canada in the first place was the fact that I was fearful of the idea of being pregnant in the US and having a kid and sending them into school where they could get shot on a very, you know, that's a normal fear for a US parent to have. That is just not too much of a thing here. Like when we first got here, a car misfired right here, right outside, really close to our window, and me and my sibling both ducked and kind of like fell to the floor. And the very first thought in my mind was that someone was shooting up the mall that's not far from us. That was the first thought in my head. I was wondering, will the bullets fly through our windows? There's this big sliding glass door. Is it close enough to be a problem? What if they run and they come over this way? And then I realized, wait, this is Canada. And I've been out a lot where there's cars misfiring, or there was a big booth that they had at this one event we went to into our first hockey game. It was really cute. They had this thing where you could like putt golf, and you could hit the golf to this projector that was projecting a whole golf course, and it would like sense how hard you hit it for how far your ball would have actually gone. And it kept just having this beat of just something hard hitting and hitting and hitting. And it kind of like echoes a little bit. And so again, my first thought is, and it wasn't even a thought, it was just an instinct flex to just keep going like this every time, just try, get down a little bit and make yourself small. And that was one of my primary things, is that I told my husband years ago, I said, like, I don't want to start a family in the United States. I refuse. And that was a motivating factor for getting out of like my childhood home, was the fact that I didn't want to risk being pregnant in that house and getting stuck there, like how I felt like a lot of people in my family had been. I didn't want to have that sort of fear as a parent, and I didn't want to have my kids have that fear as a parent. My sibling, literally on their orientation day, school hadn't even started yet, someone pulled out a gun, and that school was right up the street from where we lived, and they basically like ran home. And literally the person who pulled out the gun, and someone had a gun as they were taking my sibling's student ID. And so for years, their student ID had this terrified look on it, and it was just like an immortalization of the fear that so many of us have. And I did not want to subject my future kids to that. And it's another example of, okay, I'm super motivated to get the hell out of the US, especially with everything happening right there. So much so that I did all of this. And granted, I didn't do it all right, like 100% correct, because we ended up homeless in Seattle for 2 weeks. But, it was a motivating enough factor to do something, not again for me, but for this concept of a person that's not even real versus doing it again because it's what I wanted to do based off of the life that I wanted to live. It was instead this fear for this person who does not exist. I write for people who I don't know if they exist. I moved to Canada for children who do not exist yet and may never, who knows. Again, I have PCOS, it's very hard to get pregnant, which is a whole other topic we're not gonna get into today, but I kept doing things for the concept or for actual other people, but then I couldn't muster up, I guess, the courage to do things for myself or figure out how to motivate myself when I was the only person watching. Writing, like marketing my book, writing, being present on YouTube, doing social media for myself feels some days, most days, incredibly impossible, but then doing it for work where I am showcasing people who give messages, for example, that I don't believe in when it comes to my old job of this hustle culture stuff that doesn't light me up, doesn't bring me joy. I think it ate away at me quite a bit. So in that same mental health category of practice joy, rest days were also on this, and I've been tracking those and I've been having quite a lot of them, and it definitely still brings up a lot of that guilt again of taking time off. But I'm starting to see, even just this past week, I have a great example of just how backwards I was thinking, because I kept going, okay, I can earn playing video games once I've done enough, and then there was just Monday hit and I was like, I can't do anything other than the bare minimum for work today. I'm so burnt out, but I have so much to do. I have potential clients waiting on emails. I have things for work that I really should catch up on or get in advance of, or I need to do things for writing. And I just could not stomach the idea of doing anything. And I just let myself on Monday and Tuesday after work just play video games and zone out and turn off my brain. And I have now been more productive than ever in the last couple of days, just because I gave myself the time to accept that my body was telling me, hey, we're not happy with this. And then we have the hobbies category that I created, which my concept for this challenge was to do one hobby that I don't monetize. And then I decided, hustle culture energy, what if I do two, but monetize one of them? I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do in terms of a hobby that I won't monetize, because one of the easiest things for me to do, obviously, is just do some drawing, something that I was really into when I was younger, and I have an iPad to do it in, but then my brain immediately goes to, I need to draw my characters. One, because that's a cool idea and concept, and I would enjoy doing it, but then also I can use it for marketing because I'm too poor right now to commission artwork. And I'm like, that's a way of monetizing the thing though, so I'm like kind of hesitating to do that. But then the other one that I really like to do is to get back into singing, because I used to be in choir, I used to be in a band. We really just like shot the shit and didn't actually do anything productive. We were just all in lessons at the same time at our church together, in terms of like, one of us practiced drums, one of us practiced guitars, I practiced singing. But then my bandmates knew I was really shy when it came to singing, and they kept trying to listen in so that I had no practice time, and then the drummer kept stealing all of the practice time. Yeah, so we didn't really like do much. And then they went around later on and said they kicked me out of a band that never really existed. We didn't even play like a show. We just told people, yeah, we're in a band, we're so cool. And then literally, I don't know what I was thinking with this. I literally put down hobbies, maybe something new for a new job. Like I was gonna get a new hobby that I could use to produce things. See, my brain immediately goes to, how can I make money to make this thing that I'm doing that brings me joy actually feel like it has value, versus just acknowledging that the thing has value because it brings me joy. My brain, a minefield. Then finances, make as much as I am making at my day job, but through things with freelance. That is still obviously the goal, because I still want to be a full-time author and I still want to make my money in that way someday. Right now I can't because I'm sponsoring my husband, and until we're in a financially, I think, okay place, I just feel better with that stability, because when everything was on me to make something, I can't risk having it all be, like, my mental health just can't take the idea of it also all being on me because of something creative, because I feel like that's going to suck all of the joy out of it, versus if it's like, okay, we're in a financially good spot, I make more from doing things that I'm passionate about than I do from a day job, then we can kind of look in either pulling back from work versus like quitting cold turkey, doing less hours, or something. In the current iteration of my life, I would love for that to be the case and double my income that way, but I also don't want to put that much weight on everything, especially when I am not actively really marketing my book. To be honest, marketing for other people is really easy because that allows me to just say, oh, this person's the person getting seen, but then when I do it for myself, it's terrifying. And on top of that, I am filming videos of my face and my voice for work now, for my new job. And so I am kind of the face of this, putting myself out, but I'm putting myself out in terms of the brand that I am working for, and not for me, not for things that I am actively passionate about. And why? Because I'm worried that I'm passionate about my books and maybe they're not good enough to be seen or to be read. And especially because I found 2 errors in my book that are just incorrect words. There's one that's like, it's supposed to be heart, but it's hard, and one that's supposed to be like, what was it, seared, but it's shimmered. It's two very small things like that. I'm like, I need to fix this before I market the book again. But if you want, just I will probably be updating those very soon. So if you want one of those editions that has those two little funny quirks in them, they're out now. But finding that out made me feel like I couldn't market my book, and also with moving, I just couldn't do it. But now with me, and then also focusing so much on, okay, I need to produce the next book because your backlog sells your front log, etc. And I wanted to do rapid release, and I had a schedule to adhere to. That made it so I was like, okay, well, that's a good excuse to just not do the marketing because I'm busy with actually producing the work. But with me pushing a lot of these releases to 2026 and redoing my schedule a little bit, that means that I can basically spend this year just marketing the one book, maybe the novella, the first one, if I can get around to that as well, which I'm trying to plan to for like a Q4 kind of time frame, or I just save all the marketing for next year. But I don't want to put it off that much because I do want people to find the original book because I think it's a really good book. I was rereading a bunch of it, and I love the first book in this series, but I need to balance working behind the scenes and being willing to be seen. You know, I need to get over the idea of being seen. I was even scared to do it for work, and so far everybody's been nice, knock on wood that continues. But yeah, I have the fear of being seen and perceived, and then being determined to not be good enough on the basis of something that I'm passionate about versus doing things for other people that I'm not passionate about, and then it doesn't hurt as bad if someone leaves a negative comment. So that's something to get over. But of course, if I do want to be able to make as much money as I make at a day job, I need to be able to get over that fear of being seen, to be able to embrace, hey, I think my stuff is worthy of making me an income. I think my stuff is worthy of putting out there that I am good enough to do this to get paid and to be seen for what I am doing and for what I am worth. But saying all of that and actually adhering to it and doing it are two different things. So, but my goal would obviously be to start to get over that fear of being perceived so that I can actually find a readership for the book that I love, and to be able to start getting readers who are paying money to be able to read my stories so that I can one day be a full-time author. Because again, I'm motivated by the concept of my future children being able to see that, hey, mommy did what she always wanted to do with her life. I can do it too. Versus how I grew up, which was seeing a lot of people with really, really dead dreams, and then they blame those dead dreams on their children. I don't want to do that. So, work job section of this was either find a new job that brings me joy or work completely for myself, or a survival part-time job that would just basically allow me to pay just my portion of bills and allow most of the rest of it to be taken care of by my husband, which obviously that concept only worked in the idea that he was able to work immediately having come up here and already had work. But because we're still waiting on the final fucking piece of paperwork, which should be coming in September, not possible to do that just survival job for now. But for now, I am happy and content where I am. Obviously, it's again not what I want to do for my entire life, but it is something that I feel a little bit more satisfied in doing, and so we'll work with that. Personal style was the next section, which was one of them, was a big one, which was finding my color season, which I am struggling for my life with. I still have a video I started filming at the old place, which I may continue, all about trying to improve my style. Do you think it has worked? Do you think this is an improvement? Tell me. Trust me, it is, surprisingly enough. Why? Because I would normally live in pajamas 24/7, 365. The fact that I have a belt on and jewelry and jeans on at home, a shocker, a shocker. Especially filming videos, I would normally be, when I would film videos, it would be pajama pants on or shorts underneath a nice top 99% of the time. Unless I was going somewhere immediately afterwards or I was in a dress. There was always pajama pants underneath where you guys couldn't see. So definitely, personal style has definitely improved on a regular basis. Me and my husband are mess around with the concept of comfy Fridays or something like that, where we just, because I really like the idea of family traditions, and we really didn't have too many of them growing up, or ones that I just want to replicate. And so again, motivated by the idea of children who don't exist, rather than simple things that bring us joy right now, I would love for my future kids to be able to be like, oh yeah, these are family traditions we had growing up, and have that sort of nostalgia feeling that, for the most part, I don't really get with most things that are traditions for other people's families, because we just didn't do them and really didn't have too many of them. So yes, I'm motivated by the idea again that people don't exist, or I'm motivated by people who don't exist. But you know, those are things that bring me joy. So like having, this is one thing I also need to add to my like goals list, is just having the sort of things that are routine that I can look forward to each week that just make me feel like the world is stable and not constantly flipping upside down and on fire at the same time would be great. So things like a comfy Friday, or like, we used to have fast food Fridays, but I really don't want to have fast food every single week anymore. And especially because I would rather spend my money going to like small local businesses with nice food and like dressing up nice and going out. I think I'm in that phase of my life, just doing that like every other week or once a month, whatever we can financially afford. I'd rather do that than anything else. But I do want to have like monthly movie nights, and I want to do like once a month we get donuts, because we used to do it Sunday after church every single Sunday. But again, I don't necessarily want to be eating that much really high calorie food, because I do still, again, want to be healthy, and you know, I will eventually have to refocus on losing weight again. So I want to be able to have healthy routines and stuff, and those types of things don't necessarily like they don't go together, right? So have like once a month donuts, once a month movie night where we get some snacks, and then focusing more so on like every other week means we go on a date, we dress up nice, and then I would love for there to be one day where we definitely take Jay out like nice somewhere, and just taking them out a little bit more to see around us, because right now I only have the company smart car, which is only a 2-seater, so getting around anywhere with 3 people is kind of impossible right now unless I want to make 2 trips, so we can't really go very far, so I'm having to trade them out, and Jay usually ends up staying here. So eventually we'll get our car fixed, hopefully in September. But yeah, getting out more, having those traditions would be really, really nice. I think that'd be a great way to infuse joy in the week. So like beach Wednesdays, comfy Fridays. We're also messing around with the idea of like when we have money doing like a steak once a week, because again, protein here is very expensive. But I'm also really desperate for red meat. So back to personal style. Sorry, we went on a tangent for a little bit, but that's one of the things that I have definitely improved at the start of this challenge, was wearing clothes instead of pajamas around the house. I've improved with that. But my color season, I'm still struggling to figure it out, because I have not seen what my actual real hair color looks like in a long time. I did add box dye on top of my roots not that long ago, and I don't think my hair has grown out that much since doing it prior to moving. My hair is very dead, so it's definitely struggling to grow, but like this is all really dead. And then I think this is maybe natural right here. So I haven't grown too much of it out, and I don't 1000% know what my hair color is anymore to really gauge what my color season is, because I was told, oh, you're a cool tone, oh, you're a warm tone, oh, you're a neutral. And the problem is too, is that now that I've discovered I also have rosacea on top of my eczema on my arms, I also have discovered, and this will probably be an entire video in and of itself, is fixing my skin stuff once I get my insurance up here all taken care of and actually see a doctor about all these things. But I've now figured out that the reason my acne and my skin on my face has gotten so bad over the years is because we were treating the redness in my face like it was acne when really it was rosacea. And so the products I was using just exasperated the problem, and I do have a little bit of like light makeup on right now just to make my face not look as red, and I have been using a toner, which has been helping so fucking much. Can you believe I've gone this long in life not using toner, because I used to use acne toner that burned my skin and it just made my face feel super dry, and now I just use rose water toner, and now I feel like my face is not as red anymore, which is nice. So I have figured that out with this challenge, those 2 things I've done a lot of research on, and I was starting the videos on that before we moved and became homeless for a little bit. All of that aside, it makes it hard to tell my color season because my face is so much more warmer than I feel like I actually am, but then my veins are kind of both blue and green. So I feel like I'm actually just a neutral, but I really can't tell. And it's hard to tell with my natural hair because when I was a child, I was just bald. So I didn't have any hair like when I came out of the womb really. And then when it did grow in, it was pretty light. But then by the time I was in school, I was a very strawberry blonde. It was like, you could see me across the room strawberry blonde when I was a child. And then by the time I got into school, I was more of just a straight blonde. And then by middle school, it started darkening to a dirty blonde. And then that's around the time that I started lightening it because I didn't like how my dirty blonde hair looked because I would have light blonde from like here down. And then I had all these dark roots and it just made my hair look really oily and greasy. And that is still a problem I have today whenever my roots grow out is that my hair looks dirty and greasy even when it is clean. And so trying to figure out what the hell my natural hair color is at this point after I've been coloring it and lightening it for so long, either naturally or with bleach, is kind of fucking hard. Like I went full white. And then because I think I'm actually a neutral, having that cool of a hair on neutral or warm skin, I think just also didn't necessarily look right. I went too light and then I just became gray and now my hair doesn't accept any dye from like here down. So any of this is the most color I've been able to put back into it. But I think I want to do depending on how my roots grow in, depending on how long my hair gets, I'm gonna try and chop all this dead stuff off this winter and end the challenge with a new hairstyle. And hopefully the dye will take. Hopefully I can get just a really good stylist who's just a really big professional and not like one of those random people that like they rotate out at like a small salon every week, but like a real professional who like talks through what you want rather than just giving you hairstyle number 5 on the board, who can give me like a haircut that really suits my facial structure, and who can also talk me through what kind of hair color will like blend the best with my roots but maybe add a little bit of oomph. Do we go the strawberry blonde route, like a dark strawberry blonde, or do we go sort of like a lighter caramel? Those are the two that I'm going in between and I can't decide between, and I'm hoping maybe a stylist at the end of this challenge will be able to let me know, and we'll end the challenge sometime in like December or January-ish with a brand new look in terms of that, and hopefully I'll be able to find out my color season by then too, because I think I need to go to an actual professional, and we'll see if there's anyone in this area who can help me with it, because I can't figure it out. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. I've tried all of the TikTok filters. I'm struggling. Next is that I totally want to do this also as a full video, but like making my Pinterest style board a reality where I just use pieces I already own that I like hardly ever touch to create looks that are on my Pinterest board. And then actually having those in like my rotation to wear rather than going, oh fuck, what do I wear? Just default to jeans and t-shirts with flip-flops with the same jewelry every single time. Because now this has become my daily pajama outfit. And yeah, I just put skin issues as a goal here because rosacea, acne, suffering. Reading 30 minutes a day of a physical book on my TBR. I read plenty of fan fiction, but this needs to go down. I bought a couple new books too. I probably will buy more for my birthday, but this needs to get cut down. I've also combined all of my books on this bookshelf because this is the only bookshelf I have now. It took me 3 days to build. Didn't have a screwdriver, had to build it with a wrench. It's fun. And I also had to build it from memory because I didn't have instructions. Definitely gonna need another bookshelf. I don't know how she's staying up at this point. If I read some of these books and I end up not liking them, I can donate them. I passed by the cutest little free library on the way the other day. It was definitely a more sketchy area of town because the little free library really only had the kits for if you have an overdose. Those are the only thing in the little free library. I'd like there to be actual books in the free library. Those things are great. I'm glad that they're there for the people who need them. That is very kind of people who set up that bookshelf and everything. But I would like if there was some actual books in there as well. Next is a very niche goal. Very niche. But specifically, I have a bazillion tabs on my phone of fan fictions that have just like never updated, or I'm currently in the middle of reading, or I like looked up a very specific tag and I don't want to lose it, and I keep just refreshing it looking for new stories in that specific tag. I need to clear that out. I need to clear out that so I only have active stories I am actively reading on there, and maybe one search tab for whatever the latest fandom I'm reading from is. That is it. I'm telling you, I have hundreds of tabs open of stories. And then of course I use my usual 12 books minimum read per year. I have not actually accomplished this in a long time because I've been reading fan fiction endlessly as escapism, but I need to actually again get this TBR down. Writing wise, let's chat about that now. And we've gone over everything literally else. So back to the Kanban board for that one. I will actually probably do an entire video about how I broke down my Kanban board right now, but right now the purple is writing / publishing. I did have writing publishing as separate, but I've combined them now. Social media is blue, life is pink, and then freelance stuff is that lighter gray purple on the end there. So for this one, finished novella number 1. I haven't released the names of all of these yet, but when I say novella, I'm talking right now all about the Viking related ones. So, and these are again, now goals to the end of the year, not till November. And this Kanban board is till the end of the year because doing it for just September, because it's the end of the quarter, would be weird. And doing it for anything less than that would be like, I have to do it around the holidays. So this is just till the end of the year. But finished novella number 1. It is currently drafted, but I think it does need some heavy edits, but I haven't reread it yet, so I don't know. And then it does need to get baited and then sent to the editor. So I already have the cover for that one. And then that same editor is going to do the formatting. So I've got a package deal with them. But this is also one of the reasons that I think I'm going to push back all of these publishing goals is that I already booked them, right? I'm on a payment plan for them. I just haven't sent them the materials yet, but I know they're booked out to the end of the year and I really want to use them going forward for everything. So I'm probably going to reach out to them because they're fucking incredible and I really don't want to use anyone else for this process anymore because they're just so efficient and their notes are so good, and like getting someone else to edit a book that's in the series will be weird. So they are booked up for the rest of the year, but I think I'm gonna email them and be like, hey, here's the book. Get to it when you can this year. I know I like sent it to you way too late, but next year, because you're not booked out yet, can we chat about just me being your regular, and when I have a story, I just send it to you, and then like we can just be on like a monthly payment plan kind of thing, like in terms of everything. Because I want to spend the rest of this year just mostly drafting out books now, I think, and then spend next year doing all of the actual publishing things for them. Of course, I'm gonna still market book 1, but for the rest of the books I haven't done yet, I'd rather just spend this year doing the drafting and make them the perfect books possible, and then next year putting them out on a rapid release schedule and not having to do rapid release and drafting. I would rather rapid release all of the Divided Gods and then next year focus on drafting everything related to Spaceborne as the other books come out. I was planning to hopefully have Spaceborne stuff out in 2026, but because of everything moving around, I think now that's gonna be 2027, but I kind of like that year. 2027 just sounds more sci-fi for some reason, I don't know. 2026 is just too modern. I don't know why. But if I want to finish novella number 1, finish book number 2 is definitely still on here as well. I'm like 100,000 words in, but the book is probably gonna be another beast of a book. So I need to do lots of edits for that to be done. And then I have start and finish novella number 3. But yes, I want to start and finish novellas 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then start and finish book 3. That's what I had written down. Whether or not we're gonna get to book 3 with how much work book 2 needs, I don't know. The novellas aren't easy to do though, and I do want to do a version of the 24-hour novel challenge. I think I'm just gonna like run sort of a 185 version of it in September. When I have information about that, I'll let you know. I know some people in the Discord were interested in it, but I have to fully read what kind of days everyone is thinking of right now and see if we can put it together. If we do, again, I'll drop the deets in the description or in the comments, or just again, join the Discord to catch up with everything going on over there because it's just so fun. I'm glad I'm back into the thick of it with them. I think I want to use that to draft out one of the novels in complete. I'm thinking it might be more of my Halloween related novella because it'll be end of September maybe that we do this. It'll be kind of timely with the autumn. That's what I'm hoping. If not, I do want to be drafting that one in October, maybe November for the Orders version of NaNoWriMo that we host over there as well. I'll leave that details down below too. But that'd be so freaking fun. But that definitely gives me the opportunity to fully draft 2 different things using a challenge. One being 24-hour novel, 185 hosted, and the other one being the Order of the Written Words conclave in November. And now that I'm in Canada, I don't have to worry about Thanksgiving in November because instead it's in October, which is still interesting. But do I think I don't think I'm gonna get to book 3. I definitely think I can finish novella number 1. That one has to get done. Again, I've already booked things for it. And I think I could probably release that one this year as well, potentially, but we will see. I'm not putting a firm yes on that yet. Finish book 2, I also think I can do that, but I think that needs so much work right now, just on the basis of how much I changed in book 1 after already having written a bunch of book 2 and just how I used quite a bit of the last 24-hour novel challenge to draft that rather than a novella, which is again easier to write. This one was more complex and I probably shouldn't have done it for the 24-hour novel challenge. I digress. I'm glad it helped me finish things. Novella number 2, definitely think I can at least start on that. We'll see if I can finish. But novellas 4 through 6 is a debate that maybe I'll probably push those into spring. I'm just gonna write when I feel joyful. I'm still trying to keep it as a routine. Am I gonna punish myself if I don't hit these goals? No. Am I gonna feel really great if I meet these goals or exceed them? Hell the fuck yes. Publishing. I originally had published books 1, published novella 2, published novellas 1 and 2, and then published book 2. And then published novella 3 and published novella 4. I was gonna do, for my first ever year of publishing, I was gonna publish 4 novellas and 2 full novels. I think I actually wanted to do book 3 too, but I backed out of it when I was writing these goals because I already had a feeling we were gonna have to move. And somehow I thought we'd move to a different country and then still publish all of those things. Yeah, I don't know either, friends. Social media, daily posts on Threads, TikTok, and IG 2 times each. I think I can definitely work up to doing that. I'm not gonna do that right away. Weekly on YouTube, podcast, shorts, Patreon, that I definitely want to do. I need to be more active on Patreon. I always have needed to be. And then monthly newsletter. I did change over to MailChimp and I just think everything looks better on there and it's just easier to use, especially because my old one's connected to Wix and I don't have my Wix website is going to be dead if it's not already down. I forgot if I did fully delete it or not. I need to do that this month if I did. Lifestyle, real vacations. Guys, in this segment, lifestyle kind of stuff. That's the pink stuff there. I want to go on a real vacation where I just don't have anything interrupted for work. My anniversary, like first vacation I ever took at my job for 3.5 years, was interrupted in the middle of it. by a call that they decided to schedule in the middle of my anniversary weekend. With like a real fucking vacation with time off where I actually go out and I am somewhere and I am just completely off for a couple days. That would be great. And then just do whatever feels good to me. Author events. I tentatively have fallen to books. I did cancel Once Upon a Con, and now I'm glad that I did because I didn't have the money for that anyways with all of the moving shenanigans, but then also it became like Fire Fest again. Fallen to books. So a couple people I think from the 185 Insane Challenge are going. It's in my local area where I used to live. So it's a little bit easier to do, but I would have to like buy stock of my books, which I'm just not sure I'm going to be able to do, or even get plane tickets for, just on the basis of me being the only one who can work right now. So I don't want to cancel it yet because I really want to go and I'm tired of canceling things. But I just don't know at this point whether or not it's feasible. But at the very least, maybe I can do like a local signing, or like at the very least, like maybe just have a booth at one of the winter like events that are here, something like that. Anything like that I will be happy with, as long as I can like have something up where people can come and sign my book, like, or not sign, get their book signed. That's what I mean. And then more outdoors. I've definitely been more outdoors now than I have ever been in my life. I had like 4 different types of tan on my arm, and thankfully now it's starting to fade. But I'd like to improve that, not because I was homeless, but because I just enjoy things around me, and I am working on that. Joy, keep connected to online friends. I do need to redo and restart my Petty Writers group with my friends on Tuesdays where we do sprints. I'm really excited to be doing that again. Practice noticing simple joys. This is in the joy category. I'm definitely doing that. Just simple things like food, like cooking, like driving to beautiful places, just simple things. Disconnect days where I just don't interact online for a purpose and for a reason, not just necessarily because I'm rotting. Need to work on that. Social life, in real life friends. Oh my god, I'm on Bumble BFF in my area, and I've made one friend there who I'm very excited to go and meet, and maybe she'll have some more friends to introduce me to. I don't know, but like I really didn't have any in real life friends who didn't move away at my last place. Everyone moved. And now I'm the one who moved, and now I know nobody here. So I'm really excited to make real life friends here who I can go and hang out with and have some real social interactions with and things like that. Because I love my online friends, I dearly do, but we don't hang out enough like in person. I need to see other people. Like I need to go out and experience life. Join some sort of club. There is a local writers group that meets on Sundays, and I would be really excited. I pussyfoot out of doing it when I signed up for it a couple weeks ago. I canceled day of when I RSVP'd for it, and I felt so bad, but I just was not feeling interacting with humans that day. But I'm gonna try again, I think next weekend to go. I'm a little scared because I think they've been a group for a while now that's just like a tight-knit group of like 5 people, and if like I show up, I'm like, I'm gonna feel so random. But like worst case scenario, I just leave and then I never see those people again. I just never go there again. It's at a specific place. I just never go to that place again. There's plenty of other, I think it's at like brew house. I'll go to any other brew house. It's fine. The last one is go to some sort of pagan like event or group. I tried, I'm gonna be honest, the other day, when I tried the other day, and the doors of the event were like closed and it didn't look like anyone was inside, and I kind of got weirded out, and it was not in the best neighborhood, so then I just left. But I did try on that one, and I don't think there's any other ones around me, so I don't know necessarily what I'm gonna do about that. Intelligence section is learn Spanish. I'm still trying to do that, even though no one here speaks it. Honestly, I've actually heard more Spanish than I anticipated up here. There are a lot of migrant workers who come in here for farming, and so I have heard it from that group in particular, actually, which is kind of funny, but I guess that they're going to be up here every fall when they need farmers and stuff. So that's been where I've heard it, but I haven't like talked to any of them, obviously, because they're just like here to farm. They're not like here to be friends or like talk. And then learn French, because I would like to be able to somewhat understand things and be able to get around in Quebec whenever I visit my co-host and bestie Holly. And then 5 developmental books read. So these are 5 developmental books specifically that I want to read on top of my 12 books probably. And if they end up getting combined, they get combined. But I have an entire section on my shelf down here that are just for those. And so that would be cool if I could actually work through some of those and make videos specifically about them with you guys and actually implement them and see if they actually work. So the first one I am of course doing is the 12-week year. Obviously I have pinned quite a few things in here and I've been taking notes. So I am excited to do an entire video about like how I changed my life with the 12-week year and just see if I can actually implement some of these things and have them actually keep me more on track and everything. Again, without the hustle culture BS, because so many self-development books have like the overwork until you die and drop kind of energy to it. This one, luckily, it's not that heavy-handed with it. and things like that. And it has some really good lessons in it that I'm excited to do. And it's very much like a new take on quarterly planning kind of thing. And I would love to mix this with HB90, honestly, because I love doing HB90. But my point with all of these things is that I have these goals and I'm still ambitious and I still pride myself on everything that I can and want to accomplish and everything I have accomplished, but I want to do it because it lights me up on the inside and not necessarily because I am holding myself accountable by telling you guys this, because then I feel peer pressured. I more want to do it in a way where it lights me up, it brings me joy, it brings me happiness, and it's not because of I feel valuable because what I'm doing for others. I feel valuable because of the way that people perceive me, or I feel valuable because of this imaginary person I have in my head who probably doesn't even actually exist or doesn't exist yet. Concept of doing it for, again, other people. I want to do these things because it brings me joy to write my books. I want to do it because it brings me fulfillment to be able to live a life that I've always dreamed about. I want to do it because it's on my vision board, because it's something that I would like to have a photo of to show my kids one day. Which again is for my kids. Oh my God. I would like to do it so that I can have these photos to look back on one day. I would like to prioritize myself because I believe that I'm worth it. And I think that's always the thing, is that I can't motivate myself to do big things and to do all these important things that will really change my life, because I don't feel like I'm worth the effort. But I feel like all these people who don't actually exist are. And that's really sad. And that's something that I want to change. And that's something that I hope the 185 Sane Challenge will do for me and for other people, is that we'll find a way together to kind of motivate ourselves to change our lives for no one else but us, but just for the sake of the fact that we think that we're worth it now, and we think that we deserve the sweet things in life. So subscribe for more, follow along as we do things that we love together, for the simple fact that it brings us joy, because we think that we're actually worthy of the life we're striving to live. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye!